Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Terrance Drew, members of the media, Mrs. Lanicia Collins-Williams, our sign language interpreter, and all our viewers and listeners, good afternoon and welcome to the Roundtable. I am Sherma Matthew. Today's Roundtable, as usual, forms part of the government's ongoing efforts to keep the public informed and engaged with matters of national importance. We are joined here today by representatives from SKN Source in the person of Ebony Brandon, SKN Newsline, Mr. Glenn Barth, ZIZ, Devon Cornelius, and WinFM, Yolanda Weeks. Kindly place all phones on silent as a show of respect. At this time, I will turn the floor over to Prime Minister for his opening statement. Following that, we will open the floor to questions from the media and commence our discussion. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Madam Matthew, for your introduction. Let me say good afternoon to the members of the press who are here with me for another roundtable, and to say a special good afternoon to the citizens and residents of beautiful Twin Island Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. You could have been doing something else, but you have tuned in. As I've said before, these roundtables are to keep you informed and to speak to the press in a manner that we can have a discussion that will be down to informing you, the public. As you know, each time I make a visit to any other country, I usually would present right after to the people as to the purpose of the visit and what are the opportunities that would have been garnered from that visit. Very recently, I would have traveled on September 20th to October 3rd to the United States of America to attend the United Nations General Assembly. As you know, this meeting of the United Nations is the most significant in terms of international diplomacy and multilateral engagements. And so I traveled with a delegation, which would have included the foreign minister, also Minister Joel Clark, two PSAs, and others who were part of that delegation. I want to say that it was a very successful trip, and a trip that, of course, has opened up a number of opportunities. So to quickly summarize as to what we would have done, I had multiple engagements with our people in New York and across the United States, but specifically New York, our citizens who are citizens in the diaspora. We had about 4 separate engagements. My first engagement was with our citizens, our people of St. Kitts and Nevis. I attended a breakfast honoring the 41st anniversary of independence. We also had a town hall meeting, a group called the CCCD, which aims to promote a number of critical issues with respect to the country. I also attended their gala. And so we also had an engagement post my delivery at the UN. So we had multiple engagements. And lastly was the church service there in New York, honoring, of course, in honor of our 41st independence anniversary. So I want to say to our residents and our citizens, rather, in New York, that your welcoming spirit is well received and fully appreciative of how you engage us while we were there. And having 4 to 5 activities with you demonstrates how serious we are when we speak about diaspora engagements. And to say to you that even though you live abroad, you can still help to advance your beautiful home. As we say in St. Kitts and Nevis, we're a navel string berry. You can still help in its advancement. And so we take that very, very seriously. In addition to engaging our people in the diaspora, there are a number of things that I did while I was there. And I will go through a number of the very significant meetings that I engaged in. One, I engage in high-level side events, such as Summit of the Future, where that was our delegation participated, and it stressed the urgency for climate action and multilateral cooperation. We also engage in high-level climate policy launch held by the German Chancellor Scholz and the Samoan Prime Minister, where I also spoke. And at that meeting, I advocated for enhanced climate financing, meaning we need finance for adaptation, mitigation, things to deal with the climate crisis. As we see presently, the United States is facing a second major hurricane in a couple of weeks. And I hope we are understanding that this is because of climate change. This is going to be the norm. This is the norm. It will be the norm for the Caribbean, for the United States of America, all of us who are in the pathways of typhoons and hurricanes. This is the new reality. And this is why we are saying that we need financing in order to be able to adapt and to mitigate a lot of the issues surrounding the climate crisis at this particular time. I also participated in the UN AIDS event on HIV and AIDS, where I was a presenter there and spoke to the issues. I spoke to St. Kitts and Nevis's position with respect to HIV and AIDS. And I urged at the meeting that we need to continue and we must not take our feet off the gas when it comes to funding HIV and AIDS prevention and treatment and so forth. This epidemic, we have gained a lot of grounds and we must not lose ground. I highlighted the fact that St. Kitts and Nevis now is a country where there is zero transmission of HIV or AIDS from mother to child. That is a significant achievement. Also participated in annual L69 ministerial meeting that was done as well. Addressed the Pact for the Future and the UN Secretary Council reform. That was done from the delegation standpoint. Another one that I participated in and had the opportunity to speak was the Antimicrobial Resistance, AMR, high-level meeting that was held on September 26. This is significant. What does that mean? It means that a lot of the antibiotics are not effective against certain infections at a particular time. If we were to lose the effectiveness of antibiotics, for example, it means that a lot of the diseases that we have conquered over these many years, they would gain the upper hand. And that would result in significant mortality or deaths or morbidity, meaning long-term illness. And I'm speaking to things like tuberculosis, pneumonia, even down to urinary tract infections, things that we treat so easily today. If we don't take a stock and look at what is happening with resistance to antibiotics, we can end up in a situation that existed before antibiotics even came on the scene. And so we have a significant responsibility as a country and as a region. And as the main spokesman for health, when it comes to CARICOM, this matter is dear to me. However, well, I must also add that is regional Prime Minister, Mia Motley, who is part of the leadership on this matter. But it's critical that we take it very seriously across St. Kitts and Nevis and the world. So the health ministry will be looking at how we're going to improve our stance when it comes to how do we manage the use of antibiotics. And I want to stress that because you have a common cold, you do not need antibiotics. What your grandmother used to give you can still work. Lots of fluids can still work. Maybe you might need 2 paracetamol, get some rest, drink some soup. Those things are still important to deal with the flu because it's mainly to deal with the symptoms. But today, we see that as soon as somebody starts to cough, they go to the doctor and they ask for antibiotics. And sometimes the doctor might feel pressured to give them antibiotics. These are the things that are leading to antimicrobial resistance, which is a serious, serious issue. So we are going to be calling for a change in culture, a change in attitude when it comes to how we how do we deal with antibiotics. Only issue it when it's absolutely necessary. A cold doesn't need that. A flu doesn't need that. That can be treated with the remedies we used to have. And if something changes, you go to your doctor and your doctor can determine that. I want to say that I had the opportunity to meet with the United Nations Secretary to discuss the issues of small island developing states. Mr. Guterres, His Excellency, And we spoke about a number of critical matters with respect to states, such as the multi-dimensional vulnerability index, the MDVI or the MVI. That is to say, don't just judge us on our GDP, but judge us on our vulnerability. Because St. Kitts and Nevis, with one major hurricane, all of our GDP, it can cause damage multiple times our GDP. So we are a very small economy, we're a very small country, and therefore we are saying judge us on that. And that would allow us to have access to funding and grants, which can help us to put in the necessary infrastructure to help us to mitigate and to adapt to the climate crisis. And I'm happy that that was accepted in the UN after some 30 years, and I hope now to see action behind it. And I spoke to him about our sustainable island state model and how we intend to deal with the issue of climate change and development issues and so forth. Also met with the president of Ghana on the September 22nd. We discussed a number of critical issues, including visa-free access to Ghana, which we'll pursue, so that St. Kitts and Nevis, our residents, our citizens and so forth, rather our citizens can have visa-free access to Ghana. Something, Ghana is a significant player in Africa, and we think that we should build this relationship and build our relationship with the mother continent. And so we'll be pursuing visa-free access with Ghana. I also met with the Saudi foreign minister. He was the head of delegation. We discussed about critical matters, including opening our embassy and consulate in Saudi Arabia, which they have accepted. So I can say that our embassy in Saudi Arabia will be opened very soon. And we are the first country in the CARICOM to have visa-free access to Saudi Arabia. And so we continue to build our relationship with that significant country in the Middle East. And so I want to thank Saudi again. I express our appreciation for helping us with the procurement that we are going through now of 2 brand new generators, 9 megawatts each, a total of 18 megawatts, and to further our discussion on geothermal development on Nevis, which would help to transform our federation. So those meetings went extremely well, and I want to thank the foreign minister for Saudi Arabia for that excellent meeting. I also met with UAE Special Envoy, where we discussed renewable energy, tourism, and infrastructure, again saying to them that we want to build out our renewable energy here in St. Kitts and Nevis, specifically the geothermals as well. And I will have an update, specific updates to the outcomes of those 2 meetings in short order. Definitely before the end of November, I will give an update. Now, when it comes, we also, from the UN, as you know, I made my UN speech, which covered a number of salient points. I know, it would have been listened here in St. Kitts and Nevis. But I think the stance that St. Kitts and Nevis took with respect to this is that we spoke about global issues such as global peace. As you know, St. Kitts and Nevis is a peaceful country, and we promote peace. We ask for peace wherever there is conflict, especially in the Middle East at this particular point in time. And we are saying that, the situation there where we see so many children and women, especially who are dying, that St. Kitts and Nevis is against that, and we are for peace so that people can have a hopeful outlook and life. We spoke about human dignity. We spoke about leaving no one behind in this world. Some of the other points is that we look at global climate action for small island developing states. We spoke about the MVI, reforming the global governance for equity and inclusivity. We spoke about Taiwan's inclusion in global discussions. And we also spoke about Cuba and their situation. We want justice, of course, for Cuba, who is a significant player in the region. And we also spoke about the situation in Haiti, which are critical for us as well. We also spoke about St. Kitts will hold the Island Summit next year, which is a significant development for us, and that is to deal with, of course, sustainability, climate change, and how those things affect small islands. And so I think that our speech covered broadly and put St. Kitts and Nevis's position clearly, that we want to be a part of the solution, and we are already part of the solution. We are not just at the United Nations to complain, but St. Kitts and Nevis has brought to the fore in terms of its discussion and what we are doing here to be a model to the world. And we'll continue to build out our sustainable island state, which is our moonshot, or it is our bold step to say to the world that we are, and I use the word in my speech, Talawa. We are small, but we are Talawa, as we say here in St. Kitts and Nevis, which means we punch above our weight and we have the wherewithal to contribute to the advancement of our human family, and we will make our voices heard, our voice heard at the table. When I left the United Nations, I went on to Washington, D.C. for Pan-American Health Organization meeting, where St. Kitts and Nevis is part of the directing council. As a matter of fact, I participated in that meeting directly, where we discussed a number of pertinent issues. I also met with the secretary, with the director, rather, and we discussed a number of matters. I spoke about looking at violence from a public health perspective. I have brought that now to PAHO. We have brought it now to the OAS. I also brought it to the United Nations, to the CARICOM, and right here locally. I am going to be the champion for that across the region, in whichever forum I am in, because this issue of violence is affecting the whole region, and we have to deal with it, not only from a local perspective, but also from a regional and international perspective as well. And so I would have mentioned that there. I then left Washington and went on to Louisiana, where I visited the Melhenny Company, which is the company, the parent company for Tabasco that we know very well. And we had meaningful discussions. One, Tabasco is seeking to partner with us and have asked us if we can be part of their suppliers for their peppers, which we are seriously looking at this particular time, that will create significant opportunities. We'll be the only country in the Caribbean with such an arrangement. And I want to thank Her Excellency Harriet Claxton, our special envoy, who has facilitated that. As you know, the top leadership of Tabasco Global, or the Melhenny Company, which is a $1 billion company, visited me here sometime in 2023, where initial discussions started. And those discussions have now translated to the point where we now have a demonstration farm where we are actually growing the peppers to see how St. Kitts and Nevis would fare. That is how advanced we are at this particular time in terms of looking at any possibilities of partnership. So I want to thank them for welcoming me with open arms and looking for the opportunities that this arrangement can bring to both St. Kitts and Nevis and to the company. After leaving Tabasco, I traveled to visit Southern University, and I visited the Agricultural Center. As you know, agriculture is dear to me, and I'm reaching out as much as possible to make sure that we can look at it from a diversified perspective, making, possibilities of making agreements with large companies so that we can supply them, us growing our own food here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So I went to the university. I want to announce that we now have 5 scholarships to Southern University for various areas of agriculture, including pre-vet. That is amazing, to have scholarships to a very well-regarded American historic Black college or university. Very, very significant development. And so those scholarships will be offered. Of course, they come with the, we have our people here who are qualified for those. So we want to see our people, apart from the PAT scholarships, the new paradigm that we have set with this is to have full scholarships in these areas. We already have full scholarships for PhD, and I met with the students that we have there. We have currently 3 students through the program and 1 who is an independent student, but nonetheless a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis, who is at Southern University. I was quite impressed with the university. The university has the best marching band in the whole of the United States of America. And they played as part, I was their guest and the band played for me. It's amazing what they do there. And that band wants to come to St. Kitts and Nevis and play for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. I think they're normally in, anywhere you see a marching band in a music video or in a movie, you can bet that Southern University is that marching band. I think they might have done a piece, and you know who the artists are, and they perform at the Super Bowl and so forth. So they have attained a very high level of sophistication when it comes to marching bands and performances. And they want to partner with us on that end. But I can tell you that it was an amazing, amazing performance. And so opportunities from that visit, more scholarships. Scholarships to an American university is unheard of. And I want to thank Her Excellency, Hadia Claxton, Special Envoy, who cleared the way and set the ground for us to have these meaningful discussions. And so I want to thank the chairman, the president of this wonderful institution of the United States of America for partnering with us. And there are lots of other possibilities. Right now, they're helping us with our cannabis industry. They have the largest study of cannabis in the whole of the United States of America, period. And it's at Southern University. And they're experts who are helping us free of cost to get our cannabis industry on the way. They're helping us with our animal husbandry. An expert in cattle farming has visited here and is helping us with that. They're helping us with our egg production, for example. They come, they look at our hatchery, and they're helping us with that. So with any area in agriculture where we need help, they are helping us, no cost to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. From education, from the PhD level to the undergrad level, to the technical assistance, the expertise that we need, they are helping us. Because we are saying to them that St. Kitts and Nevis wants to become, I would say, self-sufficient when it comes to our food production. And they are helping us significantly. So I can't thank Southern University enough. And these are the type of opportunities we want for our people, for our young people to move forward. And so that trip was a quite successful trip with many opportunities for our people. I also had an opportunity to meet with Chef Andres, Jose Andres. You all know Chef Jose Andres. I was invited by the Clinton Foundation at that meeting to speak principally with myself and Chef Jose Andres from World Kitchen. You should look him up. I think he was nominated for a Nobel Prize. He's the gentleman who goes around and feeds people. Out of that meeting, they want to make contact with our farming community here so that they can help to enhance that farming community and increase production. And so I want to say to Chef Andres, Jose Andres, and the Clinton Foundation for this meaningful discussion that presents a number of opportunities as well for our people. And at that meeting was Senator Coons of Delaware, same state where Joe Biden comes from. And I want to thank Senator Coons for his positive input, his willingness to help St. Kitts and Nevis as well. And so as you can see, I had many engagements that open up many opportunities for our people and for our advancement as a country. And so I want to say that I will leave it there for now and leave it now to the press to ask any questions surrounding what the trip was about. But as I've said to the people, any trip I take, I need to report to you to let you know that these trips help to advance St. Kitts and Nevis. I work hours upon hours when I travel because the time is relatively short and I have to get as much out of it for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so, as you can see, this trip has presented multiple opportunities that we can benefit from. 1, education. 2, agriculture and advancement. 3, renewable energy. 4, diplomacy with visa-free access and so forth. And 5, when I say renewable energy, I want to single it out and put it by itself in terms of the geothermal. And 6, the engagement of more people in the diaspora. So if you look at it, you will recognize that this has tangible benefits and multiple opportunities for people. So I'll leave it there. I know it's a long opening statement, but there was a lot to talk about, and I wanted to make sure that we informed our people and these things. And so I can open up the floor now and allow you, the press, to interact so we can discuss any of these pertinent issues. So,
All right. Good afternoon. Devon Colnidus,
yes.
ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation. Regarding the Summit of the Future event that you attended, stressing the need for climate action, what support is your government providing to climate action in the region? Even as you spoke about small island developing states and how we suffer from the storms that are intensifying.
Right. So the Summit of the Future, I think the presentation was made by a member of the delegation. Could have been Dr. Clark who presented that to me. But in general, we had our strategy in how we would approach this, so I can speak to it. I consider St. Kitts and Nevis is presenting to the world a model, a sustainable island state model. We took us about a year and a half to put it together. We are going to present it to the country in about a week and a half. Dr. Joya Clark, who is presently in Germany, who is meeting with women in leadership, who is there meeting with her counterpart from Germany's end, who was at the meeting with Chancellor Scholz. The Chancellor is like the President of Germany, and his Minister of Climate and Climate Action. That is who Minister Clark is also interacting with. As I speak, there are meetings presently, as I speak, to discuss the way forward in how Germany will collaborate with St. Kitts and Nevis on the matters of climate change. That is significant. To be able to present a model and to say this is possible gives the world, from my perspective, a perspective from small island states, how they are responding, and they are responding proactively and not responding, I would say, in a way that is just seeking assistance. As I've said, we're not looking for pity, we are looking for partnerships. St. Kitts and Nevis is also presenting the idea that we should work together as one, because we understand that working together we can confront, for example, the issue of energy. What we want to embark upon, create a regional grid of renewable energy, which I presented at one of the meetings, and I will present it to the country in a short space of time. It is possible. We're in discussion with companies and even Siemens at this time of how we can get underground cables to go from one island to the next to connect us so we can have a region of renewable energy at low cost. St. Kitts and Nevis is pushing that, for example. So that is how we are significantly trying to make a contribution so that the Caribbean becomes a net exporter of renewable energy and not an importer of fossil fuel. That is realistic. That is tremendous. We can achieve that as a people. And that is the kind of thing that we are presenting, these ideas that we can add to the whole global discussion on the matters. We are also discussing the issue of the MDVI, the Multi-Vulnerability Index. We participated in that to move that forward, and that has been accepted. St. Kitts and Nevis is also discussing the idea of, regional education of our people in the renewable space. Right now at the college, you can do a technical course in, for example, solar panels, because we are getting ready to build maybe the largest solar plant in the whole of the Caribbean. We want our young people to be trained for when that is started in just a few months, which will provide, significant number of jobs based on our population. But we want to make sure that that is in place. So I would say St. Kitts and Nevis is adding positively to the discussion. St. Kitts and Nevis is presenting the world with a model, and we are being concrete in when we say we can develop a energy grid within the region that would benefit all of us.
In relation to the so-called sustainable island state, you have said in the past that renewable energy, especially geothermal energy, will be the cornerstone of a lot of things that will flow from that. But you have also indicated that you've had discussions with several companies and so forth. However, there is a sense prevailing now that talk is not being translated into real action, or maybe action is not the word, financial support for this project. Do you get a sense that oil producing countries, although saying that they support the idea, may in fact be trying not to facilitate this kind of expansion of renewable energy that might spread, as you just indicated, not just for St. Kitts alone, but throughout the Caribbean. Do you get a sense that they might be walking two sides of the fence?
Right. So I know that they have their own personal interest, right? And that is the question. And so what I have observed, though, is that the oil-producing countries recognize that the future is in renewable. If they don't transition, they will be left behind. It's either they use the resources now to transition and be the leaders in the transition, or they get left behind. So to a great extent, the pendulum is shifting. It is shifting because climate change is real. It is shifting because countries like ours, we are saying the SIDS that we can't accept this fossil fuel anymore, and it's resonating. And we have seen a transition or a quick progress in the technology when it comes to renewable energy. So the pendulum, on the other side yet, but I can tell you that the pendulum is shifting. And these oil-producing countries are investing heavily in renewables because they want, when it turns or the pendulum reach the other side, that they are still the leaders. So I see more progress now. I can tell you that when it comes to renewables. For example, the generators that we'll be getting, they can also use natural gas. And guess who is helping us to procure those? Saudi Arabia. But the question becomes, will Saudi Arabia now move from just the regular fossil fuel and move also to natural gas? That is what I think they're doing, right? So in a sense, I am seeing movement but with respect to these countries to move to the renewable space. And whoever gets there first is going to win. Let me say something that people don't recognize. The United States of America is investing heavily right now in geothermal. Nobody recognizes that. But we're going to wake up one day and recognize that the United States of America is a leading country in geothermal energy. They have already allocated the money for it. This present administration in the United States have invested heavily in geothermal. The other thing is the UK has just given a contract to Rolls-Royce to develop modular, it is based on radioactive material, right? So they are going into the space of using radioactive material to produce energy. These nuclear plants, so to speak, in simple terms. And nobody recognizes that. So in short order, the UK would say, well, we're not using fossil fuel anymore. We have now converted to modular nuclear energy plants, which are less dangerous and they emit nothing to the atmosphere, and we can manage the waste. That is what they're saying. But nobody realizes that. So in short order, you'll be surprised that the UK is now presenting to the world modular nuclear plants to resolve the energy matter, and this is clean energy. The other thing that the UK is doing is that they have now introduced a 14 megawatt wind turbine from Siemens, the same company we are discussing with to help us to do the connections between the islands. 14 megawatts, one wind turbine. So while that question is a relevant question, and it might have been very relevant maybe 10, 15 years ago, because, the other thing that is driving this is a war in the Middle East, and if the energy costs go up, everything goes up in St. Kitts and Nevis, say nothing we can do about it, principally. So that is critically important. Two, nobody can hold anything around your neck because they can't stop the sun from shining or the wind from blowing. Or if you have a volcano, as in the case of Nevis, from producing heat. Independence is what we're talking about. Three, the energy is much cheaper. Very much cheaper. So it means, therefore, it creates fiscal space to do anything else. For us, 60 cents per kilowatt is a killer for us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Can you imagine if we get renewable energies 2/3, 1/3 the cost? That would stabilize us. If you look at the IMF report, that would stabilize us almost immediately. And therefore, that is why we are pursuing it. So that's a very good question, but I see the pendulum moving because people are recognizing, one, we have to save the planet, but two, this is actually cheaper, safer, and it creates more predictability in terms of stability of energy cost. And that predictability is critically important to manage the vulnerability of any country. If tomorrow they said the oil cost gone up twice as much, we have no control over that. We have to find the money to keep the lights on, which would sacrifice fixing a lot of other things or doing a lot of other things. But if we get renewable energy, well, you over there and your capital price is right, that's okay, but the sun is still shining. And we can extract the energy from the sun. The volcano in Nevis will still be producing heat. The wind will still be blowing. That is why I'm saying to our people, we need to transition. We need to transition to a sustainable island state. Energy has to be at the center. And we have to get wind, solar, geothermal. That is why I've said, when it comes to Nevis, I'm not going to play any politics. People are saying, some people in the past used to say Nevis will benefit more and St. Kitts has to go up front. So what? Both of us will benefit. It's over on Nevis, so it's right there. But why should we deny ourselves such an excellent resource to make life better for people in St. Kitts and Nevis? And we are going to be arguing over petty things, important things, but in the grand scheme of things might seem petty. You bring somebody from outside and they look at the resource in Nevis and they can't understand why you're not developing this, why you didn't do it 20 years ago. People from outside are saying, what is wrong with the people in St. Kitts and Nevis? You have something here that can make you rich, transform your economy, all of you live good, and you're arguing over St. Kitts, Nevis, this, that, CCM, NRP, Labour, PAM. I'm not playing that game. Not me. I want the energy for our people. Because I ain't going to be a politician all the days of my life. You want when you turn on the light and your bill come, the bill is reduced. You can attract companies to come to St. Kitts and Nevis. The people in St. Kitts and Nevis can live much better lives because they have access to energy. Energy means water, it means food, it means physical space, it means opportunities. That is what this is all about. And that is why we have to take the petty politics out of it. And St. Kitts and Nevis must strive to become energy independent. That would be my thrust. And that is why I'll partner with the NIA and the people of Nevis. And the people of St. Kitts and Nevis need to come to a consensus that together we are going to develop this and put the politics out of this so that all of us can benefit. I hope that we reach that level of maturity now to understand the bigger picture. You know, sometimes you see some old buildings in town and they said family members fighting over it. They're fighting over the building is dilapidated. Oh, we can't reach that point that there is so much bickering that we had a resource that can transform all of us and it stays there because we can't reach consensus. And people in the world are asking, why should we come and help you? When you have a resource to help yourself, you can't even help yourself and you're asking us to help you. And you have the resource that God has given to you right there. Each time I talk about it, I get a little emotional about it and I don't hide it because it can't make sense. But I think we have reached the point where we become politically mature enough as a people and as a nation to understand that this makes sense for us. So that is where I stand on that one, back.
Afternoon. I'm going to turn attention, if you don't mind, to your PAHO meeting, only because at the end of August, you established the Citizen Security Secretariat here in St. Kitts and Nevis, where the focus right now is on addressing crime and violence as a public health issue. I'm going to ask three things. One question, really, which is that you explain to the public what exactly we mean when we say we're addressing or establishing a Citizen Security Secretariat. There seems to be some confusion. Why do we need a citizen security when we have a national security, and what is the fundamental difference between the two? So I'm hoping you can explain that. Give us an update as well on the 90-day campaign. I know that there are some community conversations which are now underway. Senior citizens have been engaged. There was a consultation in Nevis recently, which is the second in a series of 3. So if you can provide us with some update there. And then the part B of that same question, because it ties in, and especially as you've just come back from the UN, people don't very often hold the the United States accountable in forums like that for their part in the issues that the region faces, the Caribbean region faces with crime and violence in respect of gun crimes. We don't manufacture weapons in the Caribbean. We don't manufacture ammunition anywhere in the Caribbean. Most of it is coming through the United States, and I don't think anybody would challenge that. Whatever their Constitution says and whatever their beliefs are about that, we're the ones who are being impacted by this. Our healthcare is under strain. When is anybody going to hold the United States accountable for their role in failing to monitor the through exports and the things that come into the region which affect the crime and violence we have to find the solutions to?
Right. Thank you very much. I will start on the last part, especially the part to deal with the holding the United States responsible. There's a case before the Supreme Court of the United States at this particular time. Mexico has brought a case against the gun manufacturers of the United States, a landmark case. And the Supreme Court is now discussing whether a foreign country can sue the gun manufacturers in the United States. That is going to be significant. It happened before I came on. I think Antigua has joined it, and we will also be looking at it as well. That, I think, is the real way of holding the gun manufacturers responsible. Take them to court and seek redress, because nothing else is working when it comes to what is happening with the supply of guns across the world, how they're affecting Latin America, and how the guns are affecting the Caribbean. Look at all the Caribbean islands. It is because guns is being, transshipped across the waters and being dropped off. And that is a major risk for gun violence. None spared. And so we have spoken to the United States of America multiple occasions about the access of guns. They have done a number of measures. We'll continue to dialogue and ask them to do more, because as we know, 90+% of the guns that come into the Caribbean are made in the United States of America. I know recently some action has been taken. I can say that. But I think the landmark case by Mexico, to which a number of Caribbean islands or countries have signed on to sue the gun manufacturers, is something that is significant and must be known. The other matter with citizen security and national security, sometimes people tend to want to, might use the word interchangeably. Citizen security is a designation that means that you're not just dealing with violence and crime, but is a citizen secured. So we didn't just want to go to the point, deal with it from the perspective of law enforcement. That is the impression that national security gives. We want to shift the understanding that when we speak about citizen security, it's not just about that. Do you have water? Do you have food? Access to education, health care, democratic system, the things that secures a citizen. Those things are critically important, and law enforcement is a part of it. So we have expanded the idea. Even if the wording might be used interchangeably, we are using that terminology to expand the idea that we are looking at the security of individual citizens. Not about just national, because national give the idea that it's impersonal, it's national. Citizen brings it personal to you. When you hear citizen, you say, I am a citizen, and the government is working for my security. And that is where we want the shift in the understanding of the concepts to take place. Words have meaning. And the meaning of words determine to a great extent policies. The understanding of words, those words determine how people react to them. So we are saying to all of our citizens, this is about your security from all perspectives. That is why I prefer citizen security. Not only that, it is what is accepted now more internationally as well at the UN level, because remember the UN is involved with our activities here as well. Now, on the 90-day update, I want to say that we have been doing a number of things, including we had consultation on Nevis, where the Premier spoke, and I want to thank the Premier for his participation. Because as I say, when it comes to citizen security, we must have all hands on deck to deal with the scourge of, violence and so forth. We also had consultation just last night in St. Peter's at the community center. We would have had consultation in Newtown on the matter. The senior citizens are given 5 opportunities around the country to have discussions. This will be taken to multiple organizations. We want to mobilize the whole country about the idea of citizen security. That is the only way it can really be dealt with. While we do that from our perspective, we want to be fighting to stop the transshipment of guns across our region, to strengthen law enforcement as well. That is why we would recognize that from the legal perspective and the parliament, a number of laws, we recognize that we are strengthening the military, the police, with affording them the resources and training and so forth. So it is a multi-pronged, including in that. Just recently, we launched from the national security the football program for youths. That is part of dealing with it. We also had a significant summer program for the youths from national security perspective. So we want it to be attacked. When it comes to other organizations, the chamber is at the table, the Christian Council, the Evangelical Association, we are asking the country to mobilize for citizen security. Every citizen is to be secured on all levels. That is what we are working towards. So we'll continue to build out that. And as we continue to build it out, it will be more refined to the point where we'll have a secretariat that deals with the issue of citizen security. And this model, we say we can present as well. So I'm pleased with some of the things. One of the things that we are looking at with the Aspire program is that we are saying we want every child in St. Kitts and Nevis, and I discussed this with the Minister of Education, to be part of a group, whether it is the Scouts, Sea Cadets, Boys Brigade, Brownies, Girls Guides. All these groups, we're going to revive them. Every young person should be a part of one of them. Whatever your talents or whatever, dictate in that sense. But you have to be a part because we want the wholesome development. I mean, on Sundays, in the old days, everybody had to go Sunday school. You go in Sunday school from morning till night. You have to go 3 Sunday schools. And in those Sunday schools, as you reflect, you realize you were given your moral groundings and your ethical direction. You'll never become a perfect human being, but you have a compass. Now you have children, 8, 9, 10, not being exposed to that. So if they're not exposed to those type of moral, ethical teachings that Sunday school offers, or any other religious organization, because you may not be a Christian, but you might be a Rastafarian, a Muslim, a Hindu, whatever, you have some sort of moral teaching to bring to bear. And you have children who are not exposed to that. And even if you have a family where, okay, they're not religious, but are they part of an organization where they can still get that ethical, moral grounding, even if it's not in a religious sense. So what is the guiding light for our young people? Where are they getting it from? We used to get it from Sunday school, and I stress again. Where are they getting it from? Are they getting it from school itself? And so we need to reinstitute that and say to our young people that we care about you, and because we care about you, we want you to be in settings where you can get that. And we are getting very, very, very close to mandate that as part of the Aspire program, that you have to be a part of something. Volunteerism need to come back. That is where people do things for causes bigger than them. For example, if the trash can down the road is there, some people might say, I'm called solid waste to pick up the trash can. Well, how about if 5 citizens come together and said it's our responsibility to keep our community clean as well? That spirit has gone. And that spirit cannot be replaced by anything else. Can be replaced by education alone, because you could have the wrong type of education. And I put education in this sense, in inverted commas. You could have the wrong type of orientation. There are people who are very smart business-wise, but if they don't get an ethical grounding, they will be a crooked businessman or a woman or whatever they are. You can be a doctor, but if you don't have the ethical grounding, you can be a messed up doctor. Think about it. You can be a teacher, but if you ain't got the ethical grounding, you can be taking advantage of your students. So that ethical, moral grounding is critically important. Because education without that, that's a dangerous person. Can you imagine a very educated person without an ethical, moral grounding? And they can use that education to manipulate who they want to manipulate. I'm just coming back to the point that everybody needs that grounding. And we want to make sure that our children are getting that. That is going to help people from keeping out of gangs. Gangs is the antithesis of wholesome organizations. I mean, you have a child going into a gang and they're being told that to be respected, you have to commit crime. I mean, what is that? How can we accept that as a country? I want to put you in an organization that said, hey, we want you to become good people. We want to foster the type of petition and innovation that we need. So this has to be dealt with from that perspective. That is why we say citizen security. We're going to secure you as a citizen from all different perspectives. And as a country, we have to reject. We have to say we're not going to accept that. In every corner, nook and cranny where we are, we have to reject crime and violence. And we have to accept wholesome living. I think that is where we as a community and as a country can participate, in our little corner. For example, you see some little boys passing down the road and they're behaving well. You don't have to be super educated to say, man, behave better than that. That is the community having an influence on how these children behave. So I'm just saying that is all of us responsibility to really seek to secure our country and secure each other. Right. I think I look at it and I think I may have answered your questions. Okay, good. Right.
Dr. Drew, there is, well, some time ago, it was announced that the Director of Public Prosecution was going to open an investigation into the Citizenship by Investment program. How wide and deep is that investigation going to be? Is it going to just look at what our local players would have done or did not do? Or is it going to go into the international sphere and see what was happening there as well? And in a related question, given the track record that Chinese investors has had in this country, are there any plans? And also given the fact that in China, dual citizenship is illegal, is this government, is the St. Nevis government going to deny further participation of Chinese investors in the CBI program?
Right. So you're asking a number of critical questions. I leave that to the DPP. The DPP is an independent office, but I can tell you the mandate is to look deep and wide. That is what I would say. I wouldn't say anything to compromise any of his activities at this particular time. St. Nevis is also proposing what you call a department where we will have a security expert to look and monitor our citizenship by investment program internationally. And we are getting ready to appoint that person to that position. And we are thinking about positioning them in Europe. So this is not just about locally. We are thinking about how do we secure and protect our program. That is what we are doing, and that is what the region is doing. As you know, I've said over and over again that this is the most challenging issue for me. Why is it challenging? Because the previous government brought St. Kitts and Nevis to depend on this for 70% of its revenue. I mean, that is extremely dangerous. It means, therefore, that the resources you got, you did not even use that to diversify your economy. If you go to Saudi Arabia, I spoke with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and he's looking to diversify the economy where 15% of the economy will now be tourism by a particular date. But we got all these resources and never invest to diversify the economy. And so anything happens to the CBI would affect St. Kitts and Nevis. The other thing is I was determined that the CBI must also come under good governance. And I will not only say that in St. Kitts and Nevis, but throughout the region. And I'm happy that St. Kitts and Nevis was recognized for its transition, even though we know it's challenging as an industry. We were also able to advocate for regional regulation. Never happened before. I want to highlight that now the central bank is taking a leading role in setting up a regulatory body to regulate the CBI space. So it's not even just us doing it, that has expanded to the region and expanded to the world as well. And so St. Kitts and Nevis, we do not single out any particular nationality. We put safeguards in place to protect us from all sorts and kinds. You might talk about one particular type of nationality, but there are people from other nationalities non-suspecting. So it comes down a lot to who are you dealing with. That is why our due diligence is so strict. We're not going to be fooled by nationality, gender, anything like that. We apply it across the board. That each person who wants to participate must undergo strict due diligence that meets the best of international standard, so that the program in its entirety is protected. So you're going to be local, regional, and further afield to make sure that. And we have passed the laws to say that our program will not be used by those who want to use it for other reasons. And that is why we have determined that, and we have been recognized for that. Because if you look at why one particular entity, Judge St. Kitts and Nevis, as being number one of the things they look at is how we have transformed, how we are positioning ourselves. They recognize that we were serious. That is why I keep saying our actions are not determined by the dictates of anyone else. They are dictated by us and our position of good governance. That is where we are. So I will say to you, that whatever we have applied to all nationalities equally across the board. You must reach particular standards in order to participate in this particular program. And if you are anywhere, our due diligence is such that it will expose what will happen and so forth. And so it is not, because you see, if you get into the argument of this nationality and that nationality, you have to be mindful, because the danger can come from an unsuspecting nationality. And if you don't subject them to the strict standards, you can end up in trouble. And so therefore, we are simply saying that, I know she has a question. Let her ask a question. You've been holding a long time. But give her a chance to ask a question. I'll come back to you. All right? Ask a question. She has been waiting, but I give you the go-ahead. Sorry about that.
What approach will the Ministry of Health be taking as it relates to the issue with antibiotics? Because I know this is a very critical medicine to the human body. So what approach will we be taking here locally to deal with this issue?
That's a very, very good question. We'll be collaborating with PAHO and United Nations that deals with that. We will set up systems where we will have a system called antibiotic stewardship. One of the things is to start putting the structures in place that will determine how antibiotics are used at the hospital level, at the community level. The policy will dictate how they are prescribed. We want doctors to become more mindful. So it'll be education at the doctor's level, education at the community level, which I'm doing now, telling people that you don't need antibiotics for flu. Try Granny's remedy, they still work. And to say to doctors that, some patients might pressure into getting antibiotics. And some patients, I used to be a practicing doctor for a lot of years. They would come to one doctor, the doctor said, no, you can't get antibiotics. They said, no, I ain't taking the other doctor. They go on to another doctor, the cold is so bad and almost forces the doctor to say, okay, you sound like you need antibiotics. It's affecting us. So we, at the other end, when a doctor says you don't need antibiotics, it's very likely you don't need antibiotics. And then the second matter is to make sure that the antibiotics is prescribed is the antibiotics that should be prescribed. For example, if you have a urinary tract infection, why use, let's say, a very advanced antibiotic when you can use still a simple antibiotic that can bring about the cure of that urinary tract infection? Because if you expose that very advanced antibiotic to a bacteria that can be easily treated with a regular antibiotic, what would happen is that the bacteria now starts to mutate and become resistant to the very advanced antibiotic. So when you really need the advanced antibiotic, because the regular antibiotic is not working, it's not working. That's a problem. The indiscriminate use. And so we now need to make sure that with the antibiotic stewardship approach, that we continue to educate our doctors, we educate our people, so that we understand how serious this matter is. So that when a doctor says you don't need antibiotics, very likely you don't need antibiotics. And what that does is make sure that the bacteria or the whatever microbe you might have, it's not exposed to these antibiotics so that they can start to mutate and become resistant. We have to use antibiotics when they are needed and use the right antibiotic when we have to apply it. So that, in a sense, that stewardship will help to prevent antimicrobial resistance to our antibiotics.
Dr. Drew, I just need to follow up on the matter of the Chinese. I mentioned the Chinese simply because in China it is illegal to have dual citizenship. In that case, how can an agent be selling our citizenship? Well,
I hope they're not selling our citizenship, because that we don't sell citizenships. If you invest, you can have access to the citizenship, but you have to go through a stringent process in order to access the citizenship. So I hope nobody is over there saying that they're selling citizenships. I take that word seriously and I'll make a note of it. Right. Because you're a reporter, and if you bring that word sell citizenship, I have to take that seriously.
All right. I stand corrected there.
No, I'm not saying that you stand corrected.
What I'm saying though is that there are agents who are processing applications for through our citizenship by investment program. And part of that is the acquisition of our citizenship by the applicant. If it is in China that dual citizenship is illegal, how could that kind of operation be going on still? So that is why I asked the question, if you're going to ban the participation of China in our citizenship by investment program.
Wait, let me say something to you. China is not participating in our citizenship by investment program. I have to be specific, but don't think I'm picking. These words, when you use them, they have an international overtone. I have to be careful. So it's not picking at you. I want the world to know we don't sell citizenship. I want the world to know China does not participate in our citizenship. China is a country. It depends on which one you're speaking of. I'm thinking you're talking about the mainland China, as they call it. They don't participate in our citizenship by investment. Individuals can, and they have to go through a rigorous process and also satisfy our legal standings. Let me put it that way. It's very critical that that is understood like that. Somebody will determine what citizenship they have. If they want this citizenship or that citizenship, that's a personal decision for them to make, responding to all of the regulations and rules surrounding it. They make a personal decision. Today, you can decide, are you a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis? Good. Today, you can decide you don't want to be a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. You can say that. You can say, I don't want to be a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis, and sign the paper for that. That's a personal decision. So we look at that. That is why I told you it is not simply, it's a complex matter in the sense that they have to follow rules and regulations. So China does not participate in our program, and we don't sell citizenship by investment. We don't sell citizenships, right? Okay.
Mr. Prime Minister, I want to talk about, we'll bring it home to St. Kitts and Nevis regarding the Development Bank. What updates can you provide regarding the millions reported missing from the Development Bank? And how is the investigation progressing as it has become a legal matter?
Right. So I know that based on the update that I was given by the AG, that is supposed to be heard in these assizes, okay? And so the AG will give a further update with respect to that. And I think because these are specific things, but I can tell you there's the case, And these are specific things. And I would ask the AG to give an update on this. There are some critical matters to give an update because you're asking specific questions that must be answered. And that's an excellent question as to where this one is. Again, these matters are critical matters, and sometimes the legal system might take a little bit. It has to go through the process, or we're not witch hunting. And every man under the Constitution should be treated with all the rights that he, she, or they are endowed with. This administration will not violate that. And so we respect that. And so the court is independent and has its process. But I will tell you that the case is there. I will ask him to update the country. But the last government under Timothy Harris left the development bank in shambles. Shambles. $333 million in debt. As a matter of fact, that hurt the Social Security, which we have rescued, putting the foundation of this country under threat. This thing is so serious. Imagine you attack the development bank, attach the Social Security, bring the economy to depend on one sector, the CBI. Do you know how dangerous that is? That is what I am fighting to correct. I'm happy that the Social Security is in a much better position right now. The development bank is in a much better position right now. We have to pump millions in. We have to transition from the CBI, otherwise we would have lost, I'm telling you, we would have lost the whole program. And so we had to take measures that has affected to some extent. But, you know, I would say that through hard work, we have gotten to a point where we can now relaunch, and we did on the 1st of October. But this country was left in shambles. I can't say it any better, but how can you leave the development bank in the situation it is, the Social Security in the situation it is, the CBI in the situation it is? Because you ask a lot about the CBI. And you know, but a lot of the questions you have is because of things that should have been done differently. The country knows that. And it was the last administration that brought it to that point. That is why I keep saying to the nation, even before I'm talking so openly, because I wanted to act immediately to get things right, so that we don't end up in a situation that we could not come back from. Left everything in shambles and was hiding the economic situation of the country in the development bank. The other issue I'm going to discuss later is the SIDF, because the SIDF itself as a fund had money in it that we are doing an assessment for. So, but again, these are critical issues that need to be discussed, but the development bank, the Social Security, the CBI program, the very foundation of our economic life, the foundation was left in shambles, objectively assessed and looked at. Otherwise, I'm sure you would not have been asking me those questions about CBI you were asking all along. And that is why I was very serious when I say we are going to create a CBI program that is sound, that look at from any perspective will be considered a solid program. And in independent assessment, people appreciate what has been done, what St. Kitts and Nevis has done. I know you asked about the development bank, but I also use the opportunity to bring people up to date as to what really happened. We still continue to work it out, build it out, and that is why we need a sustainable island state. That is why we need to diversify the economy. That is why it has been such a challenge. It was a tightrope to walk. But nonetheless, I want to thank those who have worked hard to let the people of St. Kitts and Nevis know that we continue to work hard to make sure that we create the best. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Prime Minister, I will take you over to Nevis today.
Yes.
All right, one, the Premier of Nevis disclosed that he asked for financing from the federal government for the Vance W. Amory International Airport project.
Yes.
How much money did the Premier ask for, and approximately when will the funds be made available? And two, the Alexandra Hospital expansion project. You know, that's a bread and butter topic in Nevis, especially as it relates to its incompletion. Have you personally visited the site, or do you intend to visit the site? And what will you do as Prime Minister to ensure that that edifice be completed or be brought to fruition sometime soon?
Right. So with respect to the Premier saying that, I think the Vance Amory Airport can be enhanced and can help Nevis. He has brought to the federal government how we can partner. The federal government is working with the Nevis Island administration on that project. I don't know if he gave the numbers, but he would have the final numbers. But I can tell you that the federal government is working with the NIA with respect to the airport expansion project for the people of Nevis. As I've said before, that, and I've committed to, that the child in Gingerland should have the same opportunity as the child in St. Paul's from a federal government's perspective. I mean that. The Aspire program is going also go to all the children of Nevis. All the children of Nevis between 5 and 18 will also be part of the Aspire program. Any opportunity we have for children in St. Kitts, we want them for the children in Nevis as well. Because at the end of the day, we have to become more as one. Because we can't survive individually. All these countries in the Caribbean recognize already that our strength is in our togetherness. So if it's at the macro level, we must be at the micro level as well. St. Kitts and Nevis must show the example of working together. And so yes, on the airport expansion, we are working together. On the hospital expansion, I have no direct knowledge of it. It is a program that was being administered from the Nevis' end. And so based on our arrangement, the Nevis Island administration can pursue a number, its agenda, and it's pursuing its agenda and so forth. And so that matter with the hospital, I have not intervened in it. I respect where the boundary is between federal and local as far as Nevis is concerned. The Premier has approached about the airport. We have responded positively. We have decided that geothermal, we have responded positively. The federal programs, such as the Aspire, that would affect all the children, we discuss matters, and we are seeking to see how we can collaborate more on those matters. Right? So I respect that very, very much.
So the Premier of Nevis did not approach you on the hospital project. That's what you're saying?
I'm saying that it's a local Nevis project.
Okay.
Minister, I'll ask a twofer in the interest of time. Want to talk a little bit about diplomacy and where we are there, especially in respect of the ongoing situation in Haiti and the destabilization there, the international situation with Cuba, and the barriers that continue to be imposed on that nation by the United States, which affects many of us and our interactions with Cuba and the quality of life of the people there. I also want to talk about, or would like you to have a comment on the Israel-Palestine conflict, because you did mention we're a zone of peace, but we are impacted by conflict elsewhere in the world. The reason I ask this question particularly, and people may not see the relevance of it, is because whether they know it or not, there are several families right here in St. Kitts and Nevis who have their roots in Palestine. Their Kittitians and divisions, but their ancestry is Palestinian. So I would want you to have a comment on those issues in terms of our diplomacy and our positions on those matters. The other question is, and I appreciate and thank my colleague for bringing up that of antibiotic resistance, but I'd like to go back to it again, because what I would like you to comment on as well is whether or not we're going to also be looking at antibiotic use in livestock, which is another way that it enters our human systems, because we're consuming food that may be pumped full of antibiotics. There's also, beyond the fact that antibiotics are overprescribed, because it's crazy to me, and I'm not a doctor, you can probably clarify that antibiotics are for bacterial infections, they're not for viruses. So if you have a cold, I really don't know why you're asking a doctor for antibiotics, but anyway, that's how that works. And we also have the improper disposal of antibiotics. So we may have issues, not necessarily here, but in other places, of antibiotics entering the water stream, and we're consuming these secondhand through these means. Could you comment on those two things for me, please, Prime Minister?
Are you sure you're a journalist or you study health? Mm-hmm. Huh? Oh, okay. I can see the depth of your understanding of this matter. Now, one of the things that we brought forward is the concept of One Health. One Health is one of the, maybe the most critical way of dealing with the antibiotic resistance matter, because it brings into focus animal health, plant health, human health, and environmental health. So all of what you're asking, if you have a unified approach, this matter can be dealt with. For example, in animals, because you have animal livestock rearing and all over here, those are vets, and they deal with animals. We are over here. As a matter of fact, more antibiotics, they are used more in animals and farm animals than they are in humans. And if we don't have that interaction, that relationship, that unified approach, this is what is helping to lead also to the antimicrobial resistance. And therefore, the concept of One Health. Why do you think we are building the hospital where we are building it? There's a vet school, a medical school, human health in the hospital. We are going to build a lab that brings everybody together, from the animal side, the plant side, the environmental side, and the health side. Because we would have that plus environment, plus vets or animal husbandry, animal science side of it, human science side of it, and create that opportunity for One Health, and have unified research papers so that we can add to the whole dialogue of antimicrobial resistance. That is what it's about. That's the way we're going to deal with it. Bring everybody together, One Health. You can't be over here using an antibiotic, and I'm over here using a similar one in a human being, and we're not communicating. We're not sharing information. That is what is partly causing the problem. Even those who are in different spheres, the disposal, the environment, how are you dealing with it from an environmental standpoint? So all of us need to be at the table, and St. Kitts and Nevis will create this One Health concept, and we are building towards it. We have already signed an MOU with Ross University School of Medicine to implement the One Health approach. Yep, so I will say that we are dealing with it from that perspective. And everything that you spoke about in terms of animals, disposal, all these things, all of these things are contributing. The other matter that you asked about is diplomacy. The last one, Israel-Palestine. Our position is the two-state solution. We believe in a state for Israel and a state for Palestine, and that both should have the opportunity to live in peace side by side. That is our position. Because if it's just going to be war after war after war, children are dying, mothers are dying, grandparents are dying, people's life disrupted. You know, it's affecting global shipment, oil price, creating conflict is stress on everybody in the world. Families being torn apart, children growing up as orphans. I mean, this is a very serious matter that the whole world should be speaking to. But our position is two-state solution. and to have these two countries live side by side in peace. And St. Kitts and Nevis has diplomatic relations as well with Palestine. I think all of CARICOM now has diplomatic relations with Palestine. And the issue of Cuba, as you know, we have been speaking about the embargo against Cuba. The UN General Assembly has voted multiple times against the embargo. CARICOM is against the embargo. We are also asking for Cuba to be removed from the list of state-sponsored of terrorism. Cuba has been a positive to the development of St. Kitts and Nevis, a positive to the Caribbean. We are saying a different approach should be had. We'll continue to advocate. When it comes to Haiti, we have, of course, CARICOM has taken a significant role. We see that recently they had almost a massacre that took place in Haiti. I went to the high-level meeting to deal with the issue of Haiti led by the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. Also at that meeting was the president of I think the country that sends the troops there, Kenya. President of Kenya was also there and he spoke. And, you know, we thank Kenya for really helping with the troop situation in terms of the security. And at that meeting, I think everybody have recommitted to helping Haiti. There's a new president in transition. It gives an opportunity to help the situation in Haiti, because we need a stable Haiti. Haiti has contributed significantly to ending slavery in the world. If we look at history, remember that it were the Haitians who beat Napoleon. They beat everybody. Anybody who came to Haiti after they defeated Napoleon, they were beaten. There are people who are determined that they will not be subjugated by any other. That is their spirit. That is who they are. They suffer tremendously because they refuse to be a colony of anyone else. Haiti was responsible for helping South America to be free. Because when Simon Bolivar was out of weapons, out of resources, the Haitians took him in, gave him the resources he needed, and sent him back to the Americas to fight for the liberation of the Americas. I'm talking about Colombia, Venezuela, all these countries. If it had not been for Haiti, they would not have been liberated at the time that they did. Haiti also set up a state and said to the world, any slave from anywhere who comes to Haiti, you will be free the minute you touch on Haitian soil. Of course, slaves from around the world said, look, we have to head to Haiti. We'll be free. So Haiti has contributed significantly. And that is why we cannot leave Haiti behind. We have to keep fighting for Haiti. And therefore, our voice must be heard and we must continue to help the situation. We have participated in a number of meetings, policy direction, helping Haiti to transition. It is challenging, it is difficult, but we'll continue to be at the table to help Haiti.
On a few local issues, the police training school, what is the status of the construction with that? And recently there were some talks of the bus fare being raised in St. Kitts. Can you speak to that? And lastly, what is the status of the MRI building in terms of the cost of construction and the completion or the construction timeline?
Okay, good. All right. Thank you very much for your questions. Now, with respect to the police training school, are you speaking about the one at Nima, next to Nima?
The construction of the one there in, I think, in the Newtown area.
Oh, in the Newtown. The
traffic department.
Yeah.
My apologies.
So that is progressing.
Okay.
The traffic department is progressing. As a matter of fact, we have advancing. I think you can now apply for your license online. And that is on track to be completed. I don't have the exact date, but it's on track to be completed. So I can tell you that. So the traffic department will be there. And with respect to the bus fares, as you know, there was a committee put in place. It's under the Ministry of Public Transportation, and they have a board that is addressing the matter. Everybody is at the table, and I think they are reaching some conclusion now as to the direction in which they should go with bus fares. And that is to be discussed very, 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 very soon. And I think the minister with responsibility for that will speak to it as well. But yes, the discussions have significantly taken place. So we want to say that the approach had to be an approach that would be accepted and would be follow particular guidelines. But I know the minister will speak more to this as well. Now, the other matter with the MRI, I went to the hospital this morning. The MRI building is progressing very well. That the roof height now, and I think within a few months, it will be completed, and the MRI will be installed at JNF. And so that is a significant, significant development. First time, the government will own an MRI machine in St. Kitts and Nevis. But while I'm on that, we are pursuing the CT scan at JNF, which we intend to commission very short order within the next couple of months. I have told them I want that CT scan to be installed, commissioned before Christmas. And so we are pushing towards that. We are now upgrading the electrical. For the CT scan, it's a very advanced machine. I think Nevis has one, but ours would now have also an injector to do cardiac imaging so that we can offer more services to our people. So the traffic is coming very well. I know the Board for Public Transportation is dealing with the bus fare matter, and the MRI building is at roof height and is coming to a conclusion within the next few months. And so I can say that all those are to be completed.
The fire department, the building.
Yes.
We realize that they are utilizing the police training school. What exactly is the issue with the building, and what are the plans going forward for that building?
Excellent. So I came in and I visited there and recognized that the building, the building needs an assessment. Public Works carried out an assessment and determined that there are structural issues. Once learning that, I asked that they move out of that building and they go into the complex, the training complex. And so we are going to procure a place for the fire department. We are going to demolish that building, and that would be one of our projects to rebuild the fire department structure. It's very critical. As you know, we have invested significantly in fire. We bought a new appliance, and we repaired some appliances that we had significantly. For example, the airport, we bought a new appliance for that because we want to make sure we are at the standard. And we significantly invested in the appliances that we have. The appliance means the fire engine, the fire truck then, so that people understand. So we've invested significantly in that. So we are now going to invest in that infrastructure. The building was there for years. I don't know what happened, but as soon as we did the assessment, we realized there are structural issues. We have decided that, the technical people have decided that needs to be abandoned. We took our firefighters out there. It's not the most ideal situation, but they can still carry out their critical function without being impeded at all. And so we're going to get another home in the interim. We're going to demolish that building and build a new firehouse, so to speak.
Prime Minister, I wanted to, touch on the Haiti thing just one more time. Given the fact that part of Haiti's big problem was the fact that France took millions of dollars out of its economy and got other countries to support an embargo against them. In essence, they strangled the Haitian economy, and therefore that is why Haiti is where they are at right now. Would CARICOM, as a grouping, put pressure on France to return, if not all, most of those millions of dollars that were basically extorted out of the country? That's one of my questions.
Right. Go ahead.
And then secondly, because the government of St. Kitts and Nevis has invested so much money through these SIDF funds into Christopher Harbour and the Kittition Hill projects. Both projects are performing far below their potential. Can you say with any specific, how should I say, with any specifics, has there been any progress been made in regards to getting these two projects up and running again and becoming what they were supposed to be, a sort of iconic projects for the Caribbean, for the Eastern Caribbean in particular? Those two questions.
Right. Very good. With respect to the Haiti matter, and as far as is concerned, of course, CARICOM would have to deliberate and decide what its position with respect to that. All right. So, in a sense, I cannot speak to that. I know we are bringing international partners together, and I know we are saying that because of the historical relationship with France and Haiti, we would also like to see France step up some more to help the situation in Haiti. I can say that for sure. Right? Now, with respect to the SIDF matter and the investments made, when it comes to the Christopher Harbour matter, we are looking at that very, very seriously. We know that there are other investors who are interested in seeing Christopher Harbour, seeing it move forward. And so a number of investors have been coming to the fore asking about Christopher Harbour as a venture for them. I cannot give you anything concrete at this time as in a signed deal that is ready to go. But I can tell you that there are serious developments in terms of discussions on that. There are discussions until something is actually signed. So because they're in discussions, that is where they are. Now, when it comes to Kittition Hill, it is the same matter. We, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, we have invested heavily in Kittition Hill to get it off the ground, especially post-COVID. Right now, I think maybe over 100 people are employed through Kittition Hill, and it's providing a significant number of jobs. We had seen an uptick in interest for the Kittition Hill from an investment standpoint, but also an uptick in interest in people going to Kittition Hill as patrons, or customers, so to speak. So in a sense, we have seen some movement there, and we have serious persons who are interested in Kittition Hill, very serious persons who want to make serious investments. So I can say, based on our what we have done so far in making St. Kitts and Nevis a conducive environment for investments and businesses, we have seen serious inquiry, very serious. And I think if you were to ask me that question in the next 2 months, I think I would have a more definitive answer as far as that is concerned. All right, but that is where we are at now, serious discussions as to how these two major projects can be planned out as was intended. So in a sense, that is where we are with all of, a lot of matters to deal with national development. Challenging as they are, we are up to it. We continue to battle in a world of polycrisis, post-COVID, wars, increased oil prices, logistic issues, CBI, the banks, the social, a lot of things we have to put back together and mend. But we are working tirelessly hard towards those things. All right, thank you very much, Madam Chair.
We'll take the final question from Ebony Brandon before the PM wraps up.
Okay. All right.
PM, just very quickly, we're in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and you're wearing your ribbon and your pink tie.
Correct.
What is our situation here in St. Kitts and Nevis in terms of oncology and treatment of various types of cancer? The other question I would like to ask you is with respect to the issue of HIV/AIDS that you brought up earlier. Wonderful that we have been able to eliminate mother-to-child transmission, and we know in some groups HIV/AIDS transmission has gone down. there was a concern some years ago that in older age groups, more specifically women of menopausal and perimenopausal age, those numbers were increasing, perhaps because they thought, well, we can't get pregnant anymore. Men are dating younger women, contracting it, they're bringing it home to them. Where are we in terms of HIV/AIDS as an issue in St. Kitts and Nevis, and how does that impact us regionally?
Excellent. On the oncology end, this is Breast Cancer Month, and you'll see me wear this all month and have some pink here. Just to say, I wish prostate cancer continue to be, I think, the major killer. And we need the same approach for prostate cancer. So for the men here, maybe if we ask the women to walk with us, they will walk with us because we walk with them. So a unified approach. But nonetheless, this is a critical matter. Breast cancer continues to be a major cause of cancer in women. And we know that education and screening, they help significantly. And so we have entered into discussion with the International Atomic Agency to have here radiation services in terms of oncology. We have 2 oncologists at the hospital, and they're doing an excellent job with a support team. We now need to step it up. So we are going to do 2 things as far as breast cancer is concerned in terms of mammography, so that we can have mammograms being offered publicly. And then 2, we are looking at radiation therapy, which we have started the conversations. And so I can say that those are 2 positive developments when it comes to dealing with breast cancer. We recently, today, we commissioned, or we had the handing over of endoscopic and equipment and colonoscopic equipment, or endoscopes and colonoscopes. What are they? The tube that you push down your throat to look into your stomach, and the colonoscope, the one you pass through the anus to look up into your intestine to diagnose colon cancer, which is a significant cause of death here in St. Kitts and Nevis. For the first time, the government is owning those things. We have 2 of each. And so we're going to set up an endoscopic suite for the first time in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we are having an endoscopic conference here in November. We'll be inviting people from across the Caribbean and outside of the Caribbean to come to St. Kitts to participate in the conference. We'll be doing a lot of scope, screening, surgeries, and so forth. You'll have experts in these fields from all over, and our people would benefit from that. And not also, we're introducing something for the first time, live surgeries. So you can register to be a part of the conference, and you'll be given a very secure pass so that on your device, you can look at the surgery. So while a doctor is doing the surgery, the other doctors will be able to look at the surgery on their device and see what's happening. First time in St. Kitts Nevis. So we have upgraded so significantly that we can hold these type of conferences and have live demonstration that takes place in big institutions. That is why I say we are advancing. And we have come a very long way. So I think they will present that later, Mr. Bat. You didn't get a chance to come to the handing over. I hope they would have invited you, but at least you'll see it in the press very, very soon, because that handing over took place and the conference is in November. New technology, new approaches that we're going to introduce for our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And that's going to help to decrease the deaths from colon cancer. And we are making it such that our people can have access to it. So that's sweet. And we're also going to offer that service to the surrounding islands. You might be in St. Martin and the waiting list is 2 months. So why can't I call St. Kitts and get on the list? You might be able to get on the list earlier at the right cost. You come to St. Kitts our fee, you come to St. Kitts and do it. So people can be able to travel in and get the colonoscopes, colonoscopy, the endoscopies. We'll be offering that. And then we'll be offering laparoscopy, which is a pinhole surgery. That's the last piece we want to do. So it means when you go to the hospital, you have a gallbladder, nobody should be cutting you down unless that's the only way they can get to it. But generally, you should have a little pinhole here. And so we're going to be introducing that pinhole surgery very soon as well. When I say very soon, I'm talking about months. That will be at the GNF Hospital. You'll have CT scan up there, MRI up there, specialists up there. We're advancing and people are recognizing that. I just want our people also to recognize that we are advancing at the GNF Hospital as well. So I use the opportunity to introduce that. So from an oncology standpoint, the colonoscopy is another method to help to deal with the scourge of cancer that is now at the JNF and will be launched. Well, it's going on now, but the official thing would be launched at the International Conference on Endoscopic Procedures right here in St. Kitts and Nevis for the first time at JNF with live demonstration because our IT has advanced that much. So I'm very, very proud of that.
Doug?
Yes, so just to wrap up, thank you. I just want to reiterate that our participation at the UN General Assembly was very positive. We had multiple high-level meetings and sideline meetings, which would create opportunities for our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis, PAHO, and then traveling to Southern University. What I want to say to our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis is that we continue to face challenges, but we are up to the task. The challenge of crime and violence, we are working hard on that one, and we will not give up. And we will see the benefits of what we are doing. We need your participation, your full support, so that as a country we can deal with it from a national perspective. That is why I've invited all of the opposition parties to the table so that we can unite and come together around this issue and matter. With respect to our CBI program, we launched on the 1st of October. I think we are on good footing. As you know, because of all the changes, we were affected, but I think we have an opportunity to move forward and push forward. Based on the changes and the transition we have made, those have been recognized as being innovative and setting St. Kitts and Nevis for the next stage in global citizenship. And I want to say that I'm very proud of that as well. We had our challenges in seeking to diversify the economy. We had our challenges in stabilizing our banking system and our social security. And with all of that, we continue to support the people of St. Kitts through a number of programs. I want to say that we still, through the Elevate program, we are working that as a program to really help to rehabilitate. We also want to mention that through the LIFT program, we continue to support a lot of families. There's some talk that we abandon PAP and families are not supported. I can say clearly that the program is being supported and it's costing the government roughly between $25 to $30 million per year. We want you to take a note of that. We have not abandoned families who should benefit from some support. But the most important thing is that we wanted to introduce the pension, increase in wages and so forth, and to give opportunities so people can establish their financial foundation and make it solid. And to say that the Aspire program is really a program to help us to become educated about how we handle money so that the next generation and even this present generation can start learning how to do it, understanding money, investments, and so forth. That would really help us to transition. So St. Kitts has embarked on this revolutionary program where every child between 5 and 18 would get a grant of $1,000, part of it half in investments, half in savings, and we teach our children how to save and how to invest. So by the time they become adults, they will be well educated and can position themselves anywhere in the world when it comes to building finances. That we think is critical. And lastly, to say that the sustainable island state, we have to get to it. Our renewable energy build out, we have to complete it, which will be a mix, I'm sure, of solar energy, wind energy, and geothermal energy. As I've said before, I'm not going to play any politics around the geothermal. This can help every boy, girl, man, woman, or any gender in the body perceive themselves to be right here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And that, I think, is a good point for us to unite and say to the world, yes, we have differences, but we are not enemies. And we are smart enough to see opportunities to benefit all of us. And geothermal is one such opportunity. So I finally say thank you for joining us. Have a pleasant afternoon. This administration will continue to work on your behalf. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for always taking time out of your busy schedule to engage with the press and keep the citizens informed. We continue to acknowledge and extend gratitude to the Broadcasting Corporation that facilitates the Roundtable episodes, bringing them live to the public and citizens in the diaspora. We appreciate the support of ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation, Freedom FM, Vaughan Radio, Win FM, Sugar City FM, CBN Network, SKN Newsline, TVC Channel 40, Tel TV in St. Martin. A special thanks to the media houses represented here today. Thank you for coming, because without you, this roundtable would not have been possible. To our listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning in. This has been the Roundtable with the Honorable Dr. Terrance Drew, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis.